And you get another down thumb from me, Thundercook. Now wait! This time, 40 seconds in is all I needed to make that call. When you claim we, your audience, say that scientists shouldn't be allowed to express political opinions while you're showing us comments made by us, and you can't even find one comment that actually says that, then fuck you too, Thundercuck. We're not telling you can't be wrong. We're telling you are wrong, and you can go keep on being wrong, as you currently are being. But don't you dare tell us in all earnest that we think scientists can't have political opinions. Seriously, fuck you. Oh? What's that? You say you want an argument from us.
An argument to change my mind.
Alright, Thundercuck. At 5:25, on the point of Farage talking about a second referendum if Brexit loses by 2%, in that interview clip you played, you conveniently left out Farage's response where he ends up saying,
"That is how many in the Conservative Party feel. I'm not putting it on the agenda. I don't want a second referendum. I want to win this one."
In the clip you included in your video, the quote was, "That would be a reason to have a second referendum, which does not equal, we will march in the streets en masse calling for a revolt the next fucking day, which is what the Remain camp, your camp, mind you, is doing." Nigel responds to that quote reading by saying that other countries would have their own referendums before the UK would. What he's saying with this is that the political battle will not be given up on in the event this single referendum doesn't get a majority vote for the issue, and that in some time in the future he would want to call a second referendum for this, like any sane democracy would allow, for fuck's sakes. And the next part about Scotland. You daft cunt! Farage is saying Scotland voting to leave the UK to rejoin the EU is voting away their democracy. If they just wanted to fuck off from the UK and actually be independent, then that would be fine. Just fuck, I can't believe I have to put this much effort into this to make up for your lack of effort here. Just fine, fuck, what's next?
The UK's sterling example has led to a sharp drop in the popularity of nationalist parties across Europe.
And there we have it, folks. This clip right here can explain everything. Thundercook is now getting his political news from The Guardian. Now, to actually address the claim, I found another post by The Guardian that directly contradicts some of the claims in this one, such as, Italians are increasingly likely to favor the anti-establishment five-star movement, now the country's most popular party with 30.6% of the vote, while the ruling Democratic Party has fallen to 29.8%. The five-star movement has not called for a public vote on EU membership, but instead backs a non-binding referendum to the euro. While there is widespread skepticism of Brussels, a majority of Italians believe they are better off in the EU. One poll carried out since the Brexit outcome found 66% of Italians would vote to remain in the EU, with just 29% opting to leave and 8% undecided. Whereas this post by The Guardian shows that a majority of Italians and French people want their own referendum, and the Italians are split in half on how they would vote, just like the UK people were, and we saw how that played out last June. Now yes, I can see these polls were done months ago, but I can confirm that because I was able to find the sources of these polls. For the poll The Guardian claims was done after Brexit, which showed a majority of Italians would vote Remain, I was not able to find this source. But don't worry, that's not the only source I'm going to use here. This article by Strategic Culture shows many different positive support for other European countries to exit the EU. It's rather long, so I'll just highlight a few. On July 1st, Czech President Milos Zeman called for a referendum on exiting the European Union and NATO, just a week after the Brexit vote. Greek newspaper Kathy Marini fears that Brexit could ultimately become a threat to Greece's EU membership. The Union could be pushing Greece out in order to save cohesion among the remaining members. It could open the way for a new round of speculation about a possible Grexit, the outlet warns. And lastly, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is planning to hold a referendum in Hungary on whether the EU should be allowed to resettle refugees despite a lack of consent by national parliaments affected by the decision. It added, "The referendum indirectly questions Brussels' authority and hurts EU cohesion." So, yeah, sounds to me like this.
And it's led to an enhanced feeling of unity within the EU.
It's just baseless virtue signaling. Okay, so we've gone from that
to meeting the parents of the children who are going to be screwed over.
Do SJWs even have kids? Just an honest question. Also, can you name one specific thing that leaving the EU will do to hurt families? Or one specific thing that staying in the EU would have done to improve them? Can you even name 5 positive things about the EU, Thundercuck? No, you can't! Just like every other blind anti-Brexiter out there. Also, you really don't want to try and take the stance that the Brexit vote was anti-parent. One brief glance at the demographic breakdown for the voter turnout will completely squash any notion of yours that parents are on your side on this issue.
Oh, but you can't put a price on sovereignty, right? But the EU was going to make all the rules for us in some superstate, right? You know, all that stuff about cucumbers and so forth. Well, sure, some of the rules the EU made were silly, but a lot more of them made sense. And honestly, can you really complain about all these oppressive laws that were stifling you within the European Union when you can't name a single one of them?
They're asking people. No, but they're asking people to give up their sovereignty in the long term. That's the goal.
What sovereignty?
Okay,
Come on.
no,
What sovereignty? No, I want to know what sovereignty have you given up for the EU?
Okay, 50% of the laws are made by people I didn't elect.
Bullshit. Right, name one of them.
Well, just because I can't name one doesn't mean it's not true.
Oh, come on, for fuck's
Yeah,
sake.
but this is what they say.
No,
say
the EU is imposing all their
look,
horrible burdens on me.
The
that
European
I have to have
Commission's
a bloody
website.
flame retardant label on my chair.
Yeah, but
right? If that is the imposition, if that is the freedom that you've given up, it's bullshit.
Look, that is the very beginning.
Oh, wow, that was fucking dumb of you. Sargon's argument was that the EU's ability to make laws for his nation was the loss of sovereignty. He even gave you the percent numbers on how many of those laws have already been made, and he doesn't want more of these laws, he wants less. And you say, because you can't name one of those laws, you haven't lost any sovereignty. That's not the argument, Thundercuck! Holy Luna, fuck! The argument is that the ability to do this is the loss of sovereignty. Not this specific law takes away this specific liberty, you disingenuous fuckhouse! Holy shit, I can't believe you're actually doing this! Even when you just played the clip of Sargon saying, in the long term, that's the goal. Fucking Luna, man, can you see past your own infrared nose? You are strawmanning everyone here, and for some reason you're not even aware that that's what you're doing.
Now, interestingly, over the last week or so, I've not heard a peep out of all those Brexiters who were so mortified by the slightly different implementation of democracy in the European Union to that of the UK. Now, I've not heard a peep out of them how the leading party is going to select two candidates for the next Prime Minister to be the leader of the country, and then only two people in every 1,000 will get a vote on which of those two people will become the next British Prime Minister. And you were bitching non-stop about how undemocratic the EU was. But when something like this happens, not a peep.
Can someone please explain to Thundercuck how a Westminster parliamentary democracy, his own fucking governmental system, works? Yes, this is how the system works. When there's a resignation of the leader of a political party that's in power, the people who are members of that party have to vote on who they want to replace the leader. Those 150,000 UK people who are going to vote for this are exactly how many more citizens that get to vote for this than who get to vote for who's on the EU Commission board? That's right, exactly 150,000! Just what other nonsense do you have to throw our way?
Let alone the idea that they would suddenly develop a conscience over science funding. Oh, and by the way, for all those who thought I was a EU shill or something, don't let the fact that I'm not funded in any significant way by the EU fool you. EU funding for science is mostly fine. It's just the UK which is screwed. It's just they got a lot more money out of the EU for science than they put in. And I look forward to all you Brexiters campaigning for a Conservative government to restore funding parity to UK science. Yeah, congrats Brexiters, you just screwed over UK science.
Okay, everyone, just look. The BBC article Thunderfoot Sources says that the Commons Science and Technology Committee didn't come down on either side because they found pros and cons for both. The committee, which includes supporters for both Leave and Remain, did not come down on either side in the debate, noting that there were both benefits and costs to the UK science sector from EU membership. But a group of researchers arguing the case for an EU exit disagreed by saying Britain would be no worse off on the outside. Professor Angus Dalgleish from the University of London and a spokesman for Scientists for Britain said, "We are standing up against what is a very large body of people who feel that if we leave the EU, it will be a disaster for funding and collaboration. We completely refute that," he said. Wow. That kind of undermines your central premise that Brexiters screwed over the UK science, now doesn't it, Thundercuck?
Congrats, Brexiters, you just screwed over UK science. And for those of you in UK science who have been screwed by this, yeah, I'm sorry. But honestly, I took one in the neck for this.
And you use this article to try and shame the good people of the UK who voted for Brexit into feeling that we've betrayed science and the scientific progress of the human species? A colossal fuck you again, Thunderfoot, you disingenuous cockhead! So, let's recap, shall we? So the Brexit win is responsible for other nationalist movements in other European countries losing popularity and enhancing a feeling of unity within the EU, screwing over parents, screwing over UK science, and sure, for electing a PM whom everyone hates, let's throw that in for shits and giggles. Tell us, Thundercuck, what else are Brexiters responsible for?
And even sadder is one of the things Farage cited about why he was going to quit was he was getting death threats. Oh really? Before UKIP, what do you think the chances of a pro-Remain member of Parliament getting shot in the streets by a guy identifying himself as Freedom for Britain, Death to Traitors? And even worse, in his victory speech, he said this.
To win! And we will have done it. We will have done it without having to fight, without a single bullet being fired.
He claimed that no one got shot in his revolution. Nah, wasn't quite true, was it, Farage?
Fuck you! No, seriously. How disgusting must you become in this arrogant flailing to claim that you're still right in the post-Brexit result? Not even your propaganda sources you're using here would stoop this low. They at least only use this as an opportunity to exploit the political discourse to smear the Brexit campaign, while you're outright accusing them of having blood on their hands for this event. Only the insanely regressive SJWs do this kind of revolting, identity political guilt by association game on such an insipid level. You have officially stooped to their level, Thundercuck, while, ironically, claiming that those of us in your audience who are pointing this out to you are the ones who are being the whiny SJWs. Look, Thunderfoot, you're a scientist, a man of numbers. We, the internet, are a culture, dealing with other cultures. We deal with principles of concepts, not just of the dictates of logic, but of knowledge from wisdom that we know to be true. This is why you had a split in your audience over this issue.
It seems that few would contest that the referendum result of only a few weeks back, which showed a marginal desire to leave the EU, is no longer an accurate measure of the will of the people, due to facts that have since become self-evident.
This is the largest mandate by the UK people in the history of the country, not marginal desire for the issue. And you know what else? The regions that the Brexit vote won in had higher voter turnouts than the regions that Brexit lost the vote. This was the will of the people speaking, and it must be carried out. Though if you want to hammer on non-stop about the money, then let's look at the biggest numbers we can find. The UK pays at least twice as much into the EU as it gets back, so the numbers game is lost on you from the start as well. Why the fuck is there even an argument here? This is all fucking retarded. I'm out. Fuck this shit.